All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Secrets of Coaching podcast, where we sit down and uncover the strategies, mindset, and awesome stories of the most influential online digital coaches. Today, we have Danielle Blum on the show. Danielle is a community growth strategist, a business coach, an author. She's developed a global women's leadership program with graduates in over 22 countries. Basically, Danielle is a complete badass when it comes to building digital programs, masterminds, and online communities. Danielle, welcome to the show. It is great to chat with you today.
So good to be here with you today, Dino. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Danielle, it has been, 5-6 years since we last saw each other? Does that sound about right?
I'm not sure. I know we went to school together, so it's been probably longer than that. Oh,
Well,
we've seen each other at coffee shops and at Whole Foods.
yeah, I feel like it's been a good 5 or 6 years, at least since we caught up very briefly, which is why I'm really pumped to chat with you today, because we have so much cool stuff to cover. You are just such a massive action taker with what you're doing, and I've been kind of watching and hearing from a distance all the new initiatives and things that you're up to, which is exactly what I want to hop into. And so tell us, what are you up to today and what's going on in kind of your world and in your business coaching space?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk close to the computer like this so you can, hopefully the sound comes through okay. So the last 4 years, I've been building a platform for training in leadership, business, and helping individuals find their purpose and live their most expressed self through contributing their gifts through impact projects or business projects. And over these years, I've been blessed to be able to connect with community around the globe. I've not only in my own organizations, I've supported other organizations where we've reached communities in over 145 different countries. And the intention behind everything that I'm doing, so before I say the what, it's really the why, is to support and remind every individual of the power and gifts, the unique brilliance that they have within themselves, and support them with the tools and community to amplify those visions in the world. So we have a more connected, globally unified, amazing, sustainable world that we all know is possible for ourselves. And so over these years, I've built out a variety of different programs and leadership and business. I also do coaching inside of other coaching business groups and networks. So a lot of coaching around purpose, business leadership. And that's what I'm up to today. I love working with inspiring people.
Wow. So there's so much going on right there. There's a million directions, a million questions I could ask you right now. I'm going to go with a few different kind of statements and I think questions that a lot of our audience and show guests will have, which is, first off, it must be quite a project to build a community that you're talking about here, because it sounds like there's several different facets to this community. It's not just a traditional 1v1 business program. It sounds like there's maybe different coaches that are doing different, kind of contributing different areas of expertise to create this, what you were talking about as a collective transformation. Is that right? Or what does that kind of, I guess, setup or program look like as a whole?
Yeah, so the way that I do my coaching, I do it in a variety of different ways. So I actually design many of my own programs. The one that I've been running the last few years has been the Global Women's Leadership Program, specifically where I've been helping women to discover what is their unique contribution and then to create and design projects for their local communities. And so I've been doing this coaching for the last few years. And then I'm also doing coaching inside of other groups where we're helping individuals build out their own coaching businesses, their own programs, and launching their unique expression. So I dip my toes in a variety of different topics as well as different communities. My big thing is all about global community and global vision. I've had this dream and visions for several years now. When it came to me in a download, I had like this intuitive awakening. And I had this realization that I want to do something that would connect communities around the world with each other, because our diversity, I believe, is an asset, and we can actually help each other in bigger ways. So not only do I run and launch my own programs where I've reached over I've had graduates in over 22 countries. I also have facilitators in 12 different countries. But I've also do coaching inside of other platforms that also do global community as well. So I'm teaching and supporting a variety of different platforms, and really I'm here as an individual giving my gifts of coaching on leadership and business.
I love it. I love it. And one of the things that really stuck out to me there was you were talking about how different communities can help each other. Different communities that are very diverse can help each other with complementary skill sets, or otherwise complementary expertise or knowledge or resources. Can you touch on that a little bit more? Because I think that's such an interesting concept of strategic partnerships and otherwise how different ways in which people can work together that maybe a lot of people haven't really explored yet. And like you said, you kind of downloaded that cool tip. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so every single person is unique. Every single person has a unique genetic makeup. They have a unique cultural and environment upbringing. And because of those unique aspects, or even soul purpose, I believe that every single person has a soul that comes in here with gifts that they're meant to share, with unique wisdom that they're meant to share. And everybody has something to share. In our school system, we might put certain people above other people because maybe they're better at math and science, or they're better at doing testing and things like that. So a lot of us don't really see or understand our uniqueness because our society has typically structured it to look a certain way or a certain path. And I truly know to my core, every single person on this planet has something that they are a genius in, whether it's dancing, singing, cooking, music, being in relationship, doing coaching, speaking, writing. Everybody has something they are a genius in. So if you get curious enough, you can learn from anybody. Doesn't matter who it is, anybody. Going to the grocery store, going to a party, everybody has something. So I'm curious about what is that thing each person has. And so when I bring people together in communities and we do our coaching groups, what's also cool is add another level on that. We have individuals, I work with individuals around the world on the same call. We have multiple countries. So add another layer on top of that. But to get curious with each other. Who are you? What is your brilliance? And how can I support you? And then also you can see on the calls, we do a lot of masterminding. I always lead calls more almost as like a facilitated experience where I don't see myself as I'm higher up or I am the teacher that knows everything. I always love to create environments that are more a facilitated process where everybody has the opportunity to be a leader in the group, in the class, has something to share. And I want them to know there's no one that's above anyone. So that's kind of the process that I lead in those experiences. But ultimately, everybody has something to share. So that's what I'm here to pull out from all the people that I connect with.
That's super cool. That's super powerful. I love that. First off, the way you do your program, where you said you're a facilitator, and it seems like you're just hanging out with a bunch of friends, with like-minded people, and just kind of helping the conversation move a certain direction, which I'm sure is very inviting and just actually helps your clients and your members that much more develop kind of a kinship and a bond amongst all of you guys. So I guess a couple questions that come to mind is, because I know I'm just trying to think right now of our audience and so forth. There's going to be so many people that are either a new coach or have been coaching for a little bit and want to try something new, or they want to get into this space. And they're thinking like, okay, when you talk about like everybody has, kind of like greatness inside them or special genius, as you like to have put it there. And I completely agree with that as well. What do you say to people who are like, you know what, I'm just that normal person, or I'm not sure what my genius is yet? Do you have, without going too deep, do you have an overall like strategy in which you go, hey, you know what, here's how you can find your zone of genius without even knowing it's there? Is there kind of a process that you take your clients through in that regard?
Yeah, I do for one of my programs, I help individuals get clarity on what their purpose is and then support them to create those projects that are in alignment with that purpose. Because ultimately, for all the new coaches out there, you do want to find the thing that is so you that you would wake up every single day because it's the most exciting thing you can think of. And also, it's your natural ability. So it comes easy, it flows through you, there's not resistance. It's a thing you're meant to be doing. So I do love to support people to be in alignment with that because I believe they'll be more likely to stick to it long term if it is something that's true to them versus something that's not. So you might as well from the beginning get used to that. But I do have a process. I'll think right here now of a couple things. In the beginning, it's about asking yourself a lot of questions. So here's some questions these are some ones you've maybe heard before, but if you had all the money in the world and you never needed to worry about money again, what would you do? Like, don't have to worry about money. Another one is you're on your deathbed and you look back on your life. What would you regret not doing with your life? So these are two really powerful questions to ask yourself. And what I also recommend is this other question I ask this one quite a bit is, if I weren't afraid, I would. And you can actually write a list of all the things you've always wanted to do that if you weren't afraid, you would do that. And I actually have a lot of my clients, they'll go out and actually do something on that list. Because a lot of times what I have found is that most people know the thing they want to be doing. They actually already have that information inside of them, but most people are afraid to accept it or take action on it or acknowledge that that's who they really are, because maybe they want to be in their bubble and stepping out would be too much for them. So I really think that most people already know. And so if you answer some of those questions, just look at what gets highlighted for you. And go out and try new things, have experiences. So if you really can't get to it, the most important thing is to get into action around adventure. So you don't have to travel the world, which is what I did. And that helped me get clarity around what I want to do, what I'm giving and serving right now. But if you can get out in your local city, try a dance class, try a cooking class, try a business class, try all types of things and see what lights you up. If it sparks you and energizes you, that's also a powerful indicator that that's something that's in alignment with your soul's truth.
I love it. I love it. Basically, what I heard there was you need to get out, take action. I heard you use the word adventure, right? You need to get out of your home, away from your desk, off the couch, flip off the TV, get out there, start living, start experimenting, start meeting people, start doing new things. And it'll become very, very clear to you what kind of resonates with your being. And then you gave 3 awesome tips there as far as exercises. I think I heard, what would you do if you had all the money in the world? I heard, what would you do if you were 90 years old and on your deathbed? How would you look back on your life? Would you have regrets? Right? And then the third one was,
if I weren't afraid, I would.
That one. And that one's really good because my mind immediately started racing at that point. Because to be honest, I haven't done that exercise at least any time within the last 3 or 4 years. I think I'd have a pretty extensive list of things I'd like to do. So I might be doing that a little later on this afternoon. But what is so cool is, well, first off, you're just giving us so many amazing takeaways already, and we're just barely getting started here. But one of the questions I want to ask you, Danielle, right, is because people at this point that are listening and they're like, wow, like I love this person. She's incredible. She's doing all these things. They're seeing kind of where you're at, what you're doing. They're also, I'm sure, I'm kind of curious too, right? How did you get started? Like what happened in your life where you're like, you know what, I want to coach, or I want to build these communities and build these masterminds? Was there a turning point or a sign or anything else that said, hey, it's time for me to become the leader?
Yes. This really the seed, there's some deep seeds here, but around this piece for those who are just getting started also to really keep in mind that this path can be completely your own. It doesn't have to look like anything you've ever seen before. In fact, the path that I'm carving really is my own. And so that piece right there for me, I was planning on becoming a doctor of psychology. I wanted to have my own practice. And after I took some time, after I graduated from the university and decided to not, to take some time before graduate school, I traveled around the world. I had epic experiences. I lived in jungles. I lived in huts and villages in Asia. I rode elephants in India. Like, I did crazy things, traveled all around the world, and I learned things about myself. And when I came back, I was so different. I realized that I'd been conditioned in school to know what my next step is. And at this point, it was scary because I started realizing I don't think going back to school is for me. It is for some people. So I have nothing wrong with going back to school. Like, do the thing that is for you. But for me, it didn't feel right. And when I got back from traveling, I had this feeling. I thought, wow, what if I don't want this past experience that I just had, this whole year of incredible journey, to be a memory where I look back and I'm older and I say, oh, remember back in the day when I was young and I had adventures, like, wow, those were the good days. In that moment, when I came back, I made a commitment that that's not going to be the older version of me talking about a memory. I decided that I'm going to make my life an adventure. I'm going to do whatever it takes to figure out, how can I have that freedom? How can I create a life that is actually serving who I am and the gifts that I have to share? And so I made this commitment, and that's when I started getting downloads and ideas. And I believe you can actually bring in visions, intuitive visions and insights. I've done a lot of intuitive work since I've been very young. When I was 15, I started doing energy work. And so I'm always listening to my inner body wisdom, to soul wisdom, and seeing what shows up for me. But I started getting a lot of insights about how can I bring together these ideas from traveling. I met incredible people. I learned Kung Fu. I learned Muay Thai boxing. I learned meditation for the first time. And so the vision to be a part of building a global community of people who want to make a positive difference became my path. And I do that in so many different ways, but the vision has never changed. So that's how it got started.
Awesome. So it got started with you basically traveling and understanding kind of what you were alluding to earlier, getting out there, taking action, following your intuition. All of a sudden, you figured out what you enjoyed doing. It became very clear what you were supposed to do. And then, boom, you're just off and running with it. I think that's super interesting. And the other thing I kind of pulled out of there that I've heard you mention before is, I think you call it body healing.
Body wisdom.
Am I referring to that correctly? But you kind of referred to how you listen to your body, or maybe it was body listening. Body wisdom. There it was. Yeah, body wisdom. Let's talk about that, because that's very interesting, because it sounds like your entire journey took off with what you would refer to as body wisdom.
Body wisdom, yes. And the first piece too is that it took me several years to have this vision actually unfold. So that's one thing I would say, is I thought it would come way quicker, but it took me several years. And then it wasn't until 4 years ago that I was able to get my business full-time started. But body wisdom. Yeah. So this is something I started practicing when I was 15 years old, and I met my spiritual teacher. And I actually never talk about this publicly because not many people understand it or believe in it, but it's something that is true to me inside of my being. But I believe that the same intelligence that gave, the trees just grow, our heart just pumps, our hair grows, our body knows how to heal itself. The stars in the sky. I mean, the some sort of intelligence that created life and that's moving life without us even doing anything. The fact that we just breathe without even having to think about it. Life is breathing us. So that same intelligence on a daily basis, through meditation and through intention, I'm connecting with that intelligence that already knows how, the flower knows exactly how it wants to bloom. We just need to get out of the way and water it and have patience. And so it's not about forcing things to grow, but it's getting in the rhythm and in alignment with the natural order of life. And so that's my practice, because I've definitely gone into cycles of burnout. Dino and I have talked about this before, where we're, the whole idea is like hustle. And like, My gosh, I've hit so much burnout from that experience. So I'm not willing to jeopardize or compromise my body anymore. So I'm in flow with the wisdom, flow with, if it needs me to rest, I rest. I listen to, your body speaks to you in subtle ways, headaches, brain fog, tiredness, like your body will give you downloads of how you need to take care of itself.
And it's so interesting that you said that, because specifically around burnout, right? Because we were talking about that a little bit before the show, right? Burnout, and how we really want to kind of streamline things and really just operate in our zone of genius where we have the most fun. And it was really interesting. I forget who the dude was, but he basically was, doing, he had his own marketing firm, was doing online marketing, I think for like 15, 20 years. And he hit such an extreme level of burnout that he lost his health. And they said it was due to stress. And I think he ended up with a brain tumor or something. But what happened is that he was no longer able to work. Like, he was in the hospital for 6 months. And then when he got out, it was kind of like slowly getting better. The doctors told him, hey, work-wise, you can work no more than, I think they told him like 12 hours, 15 hours a week. And he was normally doing like 15 hours a day for 10, 15 years. They told him no more than 15 hours a week, like really minimal, like 2 hours a day maybe. What is so interesting is that his brain figured out how to make more money working and have more impact working 10 hours a week than when he was working like 60 hours a week, because he knew he was only allowed to put in so much time, and the brain just problem solved. His entire being just problem solved exactly what the solution was going to be. And so he just rearranged what he was doing, where he was spending his time. And so that was just cool. But I think that's just, I had to mention that story because it's just another great example of what you're talking about with being in alignment, body work, or body wisdom. And so that's so interesting. So you were called into the coaching space and into this vision then. So a couple questions I want to kind of switch gears here then for a second is, what do you think most people, what do you think most coaches and most entrepreneurs, we'll go both directions, both the students and your mentorees that you're helping, what do you see them struggling with most? And then also when you're kind of helping individuals create their first coaching program, what do you think is the main problem you see with coaches developing their level of genius?
So there's two things that I notice for those that are in early stage of developing out your coaching program. So that's like my main area of expertise, is taking your idea and knowledge and actually putting it into a program and supporting you with the launch strategies to launch that. So what I see when I support individuals in this process, number one is it's simply not yet knowing the language of business. So it takes time to become more fluent in something, with anything. So in the beginning, it's going to feel awkward and uncomfortable. But after a certain period of time, when you learn the structures and systems and actual strategies to build a coaching business and launch a coaching business, and the marketing strategies, eventually you become more fluent and it becomes like second nature. You know exactly what you need to do and how you need to do it. So it's more of a matter of just being patient with yourself and being easy. It took me a while to figure out how to do this online digital marketing until I was able to actually step out and do my own thing and have successful launches and coaching programs. But it's like, because it became a language, now it feels easy. It feels like anytime I want to launch a program, it's like, I know exactly what I need to do to fill it up and sell it. So that's number one, is knowing that patience, you're building a language and it takes time, but obviously having a coach, like someone, I know Dino, you're going to be helping coaches with that, like having someone to actually help you, guide you through that process, so you don't have to figure it out. It actually saves you a shitload of time. I didn't have that. So having a coach is super supportive, so you don't have to waste time. The second thing is just fear. That's the other biggest thing that I see, is having to get over the emotional hurdle of just taking action. So I always say, if you weren't afraid, what would you do? And then do that thing today. Hold yourself accountable. Take action over and over and over again on what you're afraid to do, because that fear will completely dissipate. It will turn into actually inspiration, and it will be fun to bust through that. So get comfortable being afraid, get comfortable taking action past those fears. If you do that, you will be unstoppable.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable. It's so true. It's so true. And kind of to add to what you just said there, like I thought it was so cool. I heard Will Smith say this, but he said his only fear in life is actually having fear in life. Like he just doesn't want to be afraid of anything. So he went skydiving and like lost his mind because he hates heights. But that is so powerful what you just said there. And I'm curious too, because there's so many different ways to launch a coaching program. There's no right or wrong way. I think it's going to be different per niche, per audience, per how long you've been around, your messaging, what kind of works for you, what you've been taught. There's no right or way to do it. I think the only thing that's right is to actually do it. But I'm curious for you, Danielle, do you guys have a go-to like launch strategy where there's an open enrollment date at a certain point in time and then a close date at a certain point in time? Or is it always open enrollment? Or do you guys do something different, or anything you can kind of touch on with that?
You mean like the structure of how we launch our programs or what we suggest?
Yeah, because I've heard I see so many different coaches launching their programs quite differently. I've seen some of them have, hey, we're only accepting a certain number of people and we're starting, at the first of the month. I've seen some that are like, it's we'll have as many people as we want, but we're closing enrollment on first of the month, and they don't have a set limit of how many people are in their coaching program. I've seen people go that there not be a close date. This is just permanently open and you can enroll consistently throughout the year. So there's kind of small group coaching, one-on-ones, big group. Is there a style that kind of resonates with you, or that you kind of think is a best for what you're?
Yeah. So I always recommend first know who you are and how you want to create your business, so that you're not working for your business is working for you, or your program's working for you. So if you're the type of person who needs a lot of freedom in your location independence, like doing a program that's online versus in person, like thinking of these small things that will make sure that it supports your lifestyle is number one. But there's so many different ways you can do it. So what I've seen so many different ways, but we typically do what we coach is actually like they'll either meet once a week or twice a month live on calls. In addition, you'll have actual online program content that clients are going through, and then you get on actual live coaching calls for Q&As and live coaching support. The only thing I usually recommend is doing some sort of live coaching and accountability, because I have seen in the past, like I don't know the percentage, but if there's an evergreen product that people buy online, but there's no live coaching, people typically tend to not finish those programs. And ultimately, what is our purpose? We want people to have transformation. So having something where there's a touch point with you or an accountability coach in your program to make sure they actually from start to finish get those results, that's a win-win for everybody. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. Find the way that works for you. But ideally, you're doing, between 8 weeks to 3 months to 6 months. I've actually seen people do year-long programs. There's really no right or wrong. It depends on what are you teaching and how do you want to teach it.
I love it. So there's no one size fits all. It's got to be customized to what you're doing, what you're teaching. But highly recommend, right? Touchpoints in some way, shape, or form, live touchpoints to help people.
When I even started, when I launched in the beginning of my work in 2016, I launched an entrepreneurial network school in San Diego, and we had business accelerators and digital marketing accelerators, and I had other coaches and educators in business come teach at that point, because I was still early in my phase. But so those were actually in person. We had every week people would show up, and we'd have class class session, and then we'd have like events and all types of fun things. The whole thing was in person. It was amazing. I do highly recommend, if you can get, at least one weekend or a retreat or something's in person, the in-person touch point's amazing. But I ended up switching to doing it online. Right now it's mostly online. I do have one retreat a year that we do with one of my partners in Creatrix Calling. But online is just as great as well. So you pick and choose what works for you.
Gotcha. So if you can get people together in person, otherwise definitely online, weekly touch points, otherwise at minimum monthly touch points makes a big difference. I see that as well in our coaching programs, is that also the people that always show up to those coaching calls, I've noticed, are the ones who have the biggest results, which is a really funny thing, because again, something always comes up for somebody. They can't make it, their kids or something else, work or whatever, they can't make one of the calls. But the people that somehow find a way to make it to every single call, they just go out there and smash it. It's so interesting to me, as just a side note. But I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this quote from you, Danielle, and I want you to share it, because this is cool. But what is one, and you kind of already touched on this again, but I wanted to go through this a little bit further. So, what is that strategy that has helped, and strategy and mindset that's helped grow your business the most?
And what did I quote there?
Like, which one? There's a lot. Basically, if you could tell us more about how, if you feel excitement and fear, what you do. Yeah.
This was in the pre-form. So if you feel excitement and fear. So fear is interesting because there's different types of fear. So there's fear which you actually need to be cautious of, where you get a bad feeling. It's like a lion's about to chase you, or you just have a feeling you shouldn't go down that dark alley. That's a good type of fear. Then there's another type of fear. And you'll notice this comes up when you're in your coaching work and you're starting to put yourself out there. You'll notice that even though you have this like deep fear, there's some part of you that is excited about the possibility of you doing that thing, whether it's speaking on stage, being on a podcast, writing that book, actually leading a group. But inside your body, you feel so much fear and anxiety. So that's the fear I want to talk about now. When you feel that fear, like I said before, do it anyways. Say yes anyways over and over again. That has been the biggest core of my success, is that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make that vision a reality. So have a big vision that you believe in with every part of your core. So no matter what happens, you're willing to do whatever it takes. And have that be your motto, to keep taking that consistent action. And let's see, having that big vision, saying yes to you. I mean, doing what you want to do. This life's short. Like, don't be afraid, like you have to do what you're told, or you're afraid what people are going to think of you. Like, be you. And that's something I'm actually working on, because there's parts of myself I've been so afraid to share, like my intuitive side or my theatrical side. Like, there's parts of me and I'm like, oh my God, if I share that, what if people don't take me seriously? What if people don't want to work with me? And I've actually come to the point where I'm like, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to start doing that. So I'm starting to work on like getting myself out there with like doing more acting and theater and my spiritual side. Like, it feels so much better. So be you. Be you.
It's freeing. It's enlightening. I think everybody struggles with that, especially with social media, is what do I share, because this is who I am. But it's so interesting, like words on social media, right? There's and just normal communication, right? We can say the same sentence to each other, but it can mean 100 different things with the tonality of which we say it, and if we're giving a cheeky smile while we say it, or whatever it is, it completely changes the context of that actual sentence. And that's what's so tricky about social media, is we'll want to share a certain feeling, a thought, emotion, something like that, but because our voice isn't always there to explain the concept further, or to kind of let somebody know whether this is coming off in what tonality, it can always be misinterpreted. And so I think it's a massive, massive fear for all of us. I've also struggled with that, and growing my business. I've always wanted to be humble with the way things are going, but at the same time, I want to be myself and be excited about results that our team is getting and our clients are getting. And so that's been one for all of us. So I think everybody understands that. And one of the things I really wanted to do on this show, that I'm super excited about, especially with you, Danielle, is I want to make this a very real show where we don't just talk about like the successes and the strategies and all that cool stuff. And we've gone through a lot of that, but anybody that runs any type of business is going to have an off week, or an off week, off month, could even be an off year, right? And this happens both in personally in our personal lives, as well as will happen naturally, regardless, in business. And so I'm curious for you, what do you do when all of a sudden you go, you know what, I'm not in my normal zone, like I'm having an off week? What do you do to break out of that?
Good question. Let's see here. So if I'm having an off week, typically I'd say my biggest challenge in doing my own work has been burnout. That's a piece we just touched on a little bit ago. And I've seen this over and over again with different entrepreneur people who will push so hard to the point they literally like drop. And I'm not like I'm shifting how I'm doing things, because that's an old way. That's a messaging in the entrepreneurial world, but just doesn't work long term. And I'm here to do till the last day that I'm alive, to take my last breath. Like, I'm here for a reason. I'm here to contribute. I want to give my heart and my soul and support the world and my family as much as I can. And I want to do that for the rest of my life. So if I'm having an off week, typically it's if I'm pushing too hard. That's the number one thing that has kept me from anything. So I would say, don't be afraid to actually slow down. I think people are so afraid of like, oh my God, I'm not doing anything. I'm not actually moving my work forward. I'm not making anything happen. The actual opposite is seriously happening. So I'll have a day where, like, the other day I was like, today I'm gonna just take it slow. I went to the beach and I sat and listened to the waves. And then the next day I'm so filled up. I'm so energized because I rested. And then I made so many big things happen and push things forward that I wouldn't have been able to do if I just kept going. Like, they say that you're not as productive if you start going over 50 or 60 hours a week. You're actually less productive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like, they've done studies on that. So slow down. This, for me, it would be just taking a rest break and not being afraid to build slowly over time. What is this whole being like, a millionaire in like a week or a day? Like, no, like, just slow, enjoy the journey. That's been my biggest challenge. And the thing that I've totally shifted in my life is taking time and you could still be successful and enjoy the journey way more. It's not just about the end goal. Like, that's fun for like a minute, but it's about the climb.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. Yeah.
I love it. And I think everybody can resonate with that, just because of culture. Everybody's talking about how fast you get there, how quick you get there. And what's funny is you hear it from everybody. Once you do get there, there's always another next level that all of a sudden your mind and ego decides it needs to get to, in order to problem solve, keep you busy, keep you striving, keep you growing. And so if it's not about the journey, then you're always chasing. And so that's just incredible advice. So Danielle, I want to, we are just here about at the 45-minute mark. So I want to go ahead at this point in time and ask you the final question for today, which is, if you can give one piece of advice to anybody about anything, what would that piece of advice be?
I would say
this is a tricky one. This is a tricky one.
Only one piece. Okay. No. I would say truly spend time getting to know your inner self. So this is the you beyond the constructed ego or the mind or the conditioning that you've had since when you've been growing up, or the culture you're living in. We've taken a lot of ideas from outside of ourselves. And so I would say, spend time doing the reverse. So let go of what's outside of you, the voices outside of you, the people outside of you, and go within yourself and spend time getting to know, who are you really? Why are you here? What matters to you? What are things you want to do with your precious time here on this planet? And just actually get to know that version of you, and then have the courage to listen to the insights or ideas or desires or dreams that your inner self has for you, and start doing those things, start taking action on those things, because that's what's going to make the world light up, because you're going to be lighting up from within.
Love it. I love it. Do the things that that you're called to do, and take action. Get off the couch, have fun, and adventure. I heard that word a lot today, is adventure.
Yes.
So Danielle, just want to appreciate you so much for your time, energy, and wisdom today. It was great catching up. And it's been an absolute blast. And I just want to finish off by saying, where can people find more about awesome Danielle? Because I know people are going to want to be like, this girl's amazing. Where do they get in touch?
Yes, thank you. So I would go to my website, danielleblum.com, and Blum is BLUM.com, and you'll see more information on all the different projects. I'm constantly evolving and growing and learning, so you'll see all the updated work that I do there.
By the time you get there, Danielle will have been moved on to a new initiative, but you might be able to work with her.
I'm always same vision, but lots of different projects. So
awesome. Love it. Well, thanks again, Danielle. It was a blast chatting with you. And thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you, Dino.
Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in to another episode of the Secrets of Coaching podcast. My name is Dino Gomez. I'm your host. Don't forget, beneath this video in the description, you're going to find a ton of resources to help you start, grow, and scale your online coaching business. So be sure to check those out. Also, guys, find us on iTunes if you want to listen to this show while you're on the go. Otherwise, we will catch you guys in the very next episode.